Welcome to the Life of KG, your ultimate destination for all things motivation and business insights. Join me, Katie Godfrey, serial entrepreneur and the brains behind the KG brand. Along the way, we'll welcome inspiring guests and share invaluable business tips to fuel your growth journey. Don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. With that said, let's dive into the world of success together. I want to give a shout out to Sky Premium Life products. Now, you will know from last year that I was testing all of their supplements and I absolutely love them. They were a sponsor on this podcast last year and they also are this year. I have tried all of their supplements, from collagen to their hair tablets to they've got focus tablets, anything that you need help on with your body system functioning, whatever that is, they have help. And I just love them all. I would highly, highly recommend them. We also started selling it within our business, making extra money in the salon with retailing the products. And because they're extremely reasonably priced, clients are loving them. Lots of my clients were also using them and they're selling them in their businesses too. So if you want to grab a discount, you get 15% off their products. The link is in the show notes. If you want to sell it within your business, reach out and I'll tell you exactly how to do that, or you can just message them directly. But I highly, highly recommend you take these for your own well-being. And I also recommend, if you have a business, that you're selling it within that too. Hey everyone, I hope you are all good and having a great week. Today on the show, I have Tania, and she is a property and wealth expert. I wanted to get her on the show to teach you more about property and where you can invest your money, and actually quite easily without lots and lots of cash up front. And I also wanted her to teach you about high ticket and what that is and how you can implement that into your business. I also have a little gift for you. If you click on the show notes, you can see my ebook on how to gain 10 more clients in 1 month. So click below and you can grab that. But without further ado, here she is. Hey Tania, welcome to the Life of KG. How are you?
I'm so good, thank you. And I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
I know, we've had it booked in the diary for ages. So I'm super, super excited to have you here and for you to share like your story. So do a little intro, who you are, and tell everyone what you do.
So I'm Tania and I am the wealth strategist, and I help people elevate their businesses to multi-six figures, utilising high ticket offers and attracting high ticket clients into their businesses. I'm also a property mentor, so I can also help my clients multiply their money as well, which is really exciting. So yeah, I've got my fingers in lots of different things, which is all good. And I think us as entrepreneurs need the variety. So I'm very happy to say that I've definitely got some of that.
Yeah, definitely. And everything you do sounds so fancy. When you say that, it's like, oh, so fancy. And I'm just going to say, so the listeners know that obviously me and you met in Lisa's mastermind last year, which is absolutely incredible. So obviously we connected through that, and we went to New York and we've done all the fun things and all the in-person days in London. And obviously me and you hit it off really well. So that's why we stayed in touch, and you're on here to share your knowledge, because I'm really, really particular on who comes on and where we've connected. And obviously when you have built an audience, they're so trusted in who you connect with and who you bring on. So I just wanted to share that, because when we talk about property and stuff like that, I want everyone to know that you are that trusted source to give that advice.
Oh, I appreciate that. And like I say, I feel very honoured to be here today. So thank you for having me.
And so welcome. So let's go back before you started all the fancy things. And you was a doctor, and obviously now you're this serial entrepreneur. Tell me about your journey that made you kind of start doing your doctor degree and then leaving the NHS.
Yeah, okay. So it's obviously a long story, but I will make a long story very short. So I am a radiologist. So I was the doctor in the hospital reporting people's scans, CTs, MRIs, X-rays, ultrasounds, all of the things. And I knew for a long time in my sort of medical career as a doctor that it just wasn't for me. I knew that I was born to help people, and I thought that being a doctor was the only way I could actually do that. Whereas now I know that I'm able to help people in such a completely different way, but I literally help my clients change their lives, like elevate the amount of money they make, create financial freedom. Clients have handed in their notice at their jobs, which they absolutely hated, through working with me. And so now I help people change their lives for the better, but in a completely different way. Initially, I thought that was through medicine and helping people with their health. And now it's through business and really, becoming financially free, financially independent, and creating location independence as well. But just going back to when I was a doctor, it's a really stressful career, and there is so much responsibility on your shoulders as a doctor, which I found very difficult to leave at work when I went home. So I would go home stressed, crying, anxious, nervous, worrying about clients, worrying if I'd made the right decisions and done the right things, because medicine isn't an exact science. You have to put all the pieces together and come up with the best solution possible that you think is the best solution for your patient. I was going to say client, it's patients that we're talking about at the moment. And it just got to the point where I was heavily burnt out, borderline depressed, and I literally just couldn't see a way out of this lifestyle, which I felt was suffocating me, if I'm completely honest. And there is the responsibility and the stress side of it, but also there is a side that not many people know unless you're in the NHS. I wasn't taking home huge amounts of money. Like, I had a good salary, but the salary that I had meant that I couldn't keep up with all of my family's bills and overheads each month and living costs, which meant that my debt and my credit card debt was increasing massively. So I got myself into over £30,000 of credit card debt because for a long while, I was the main earner and sometimes the sole earner in our household. And so the debt kept increasing as well. And so it was kind of this situation where I knew I had to get out of my medical career because A, it was stressing me out. It drove me to burnout. It was hugely stressful. But B, I felt like I was drowning in credit card debt and drowning in debt. And it just kind of came to me that I needed to change it. And so I had a serious conversation with my husband, and we found a way through property to then be able to replace my salary with property. And so we got started in property and short-term rentals, kind of didn't really know what we were doing in the beginning and realized that it actually works. And within a few months, I was able to replace my medical salary. But I didn't want to leave medicine until I'd actually completed all of my consultant training and became a qualified consultant in radiology. And so I ended up leaving in January 2021, which, is over 3 years ago, and it's just gone literally like that.
Wow, that's crazy. So obviously, like, I see you now, obviously I know you do the property side still, but I see you now as more like a coach as well. Would you say that's right?
I am a coach according to qualification. So I've got a positive psychology coaching certification. I'm also a certified business strategist, as are you.
Mm-hmm.
And I have that, but I don't really call myself a coach. I'm more of a consultant or a mentor / strategist, but I do coach as part of my work, definitely, but I also mentor as well. So coaching is often helping your clients come up with the solution themselves, whereas sometimes, especially if I'm teaching people how to add high ticket offers into their product suites, I will tell them what they need to be doing. It's not them just going and finding the answer.
So what then made you go in from property, that obviously kicked off, to then go into consulting and mentoring?
So I started just purely documenting, like most of us do, what I was doing in property and the results that I started creating. And as I was documenting this journey without knowing what I was doing on social media at the time, people started reaching out to me, asking for me to mentor and coach them in building a successful short-term rental Airbnb business. And it kind of just snowballed from there. So people kept reaching out. And then I thought, okay, I don't just want to be doing this one-to-one. I want to do this one-to-many. So I'm going to launch a group program. And so I launched a group program at the end of 2020, and that generated over £30,000 worth of cash from my first ever launch. And I was like, okay, there's something in this. This is working. And I didn't really know about the online space and the online world really back then. And I thought, okay, there's something in this. I need to explore this and kind of learn how social media works and learn launching. And then I've repeatedly launched that same program. And it's even taken me to a 100K launch last year as well. And so through that and through documenting, I started mentoring people. But then through my kind of experience and the results that I've achieved in my online business, I've also thought, actually, I can teach people how to build and scale successful, exciting online businesses as well. And so I do that now, just focusing really on helping my clients attract higher ticket, higher paying clients through creating high ticket offers.
I love that. That's so good. Would you say that you have got this entrepreneurial spirit from a family member, from someone you know, or have you just learned business and everything through programs and mentors?
That's a really good question. So I don't have any entrepreneurs in my close family at all. So everything that I've done in the last few years has been quite alien to my dad, for example, who's very much like an academic and who was really shocked and surprised when I said I'm leaving medicine now. Like I've done everything that I needed to do, and I'm leaving medicine now. So I haven't had the entrepreneurial spirit in my family at all, and I kind of wish that I did. But at the same time, I'm grateful that I've kind of just figured it out myself. Having said that, I'm not a natural entrepreneur. I'm usually quite risk averse by nature. I don't like taking massive risks or making huge investments. So that's been a behavior that I've really had to learn and to lean into, which has been really scary at times. But I would also say that my husband's a natural entrepreneur. He's a natural creative thinker, natural lateral thinker. And he's been a huge part of what I've achieved over the last few years. So I'm really lucky to say that my husband has got more of the entrepreneurial spirit. He just seems to think that nothing is impossible and like everything is possible. So I've been really lucky to have him kind of mentor me, if you like, inadvertently, and show me what's really possible. And that's been really, really powerful and helpful for me.
Yeah, I would literally buzz off the fact that I could bounce off a partner when it comes to business and entrepreneurship, like, and living with that, like, day in, that support must be so nice to have.
Yeah, it's good. And it's great when someone understands that you really want to go big or go bigger. And sometimes we have to have really frank conversations where it's like, do you want to be a millionaire? Do you want to be a multimillionaire? Do you really want to be a multimillionaire or a billionaire? Well, come on then. You have to go and deal with these problems and you have to go and face them first up, like face on. And when I'm sometimes feeling like, oh, I just want to go and hide under my duvet and just like let this thing like blow over. He's like, come on, Tania, you really want to be this big person? Well, you have to go and deal with all of these problems and challenges. And of course he's right. So it's been a massive learning experience because like I said, I'm not the natural entrepreneur. Like I'm not a natural risk taker by nature. So it's really been like a behavior that I've really had to learn.
Which fascinates me because obviously I know, and I know you've talked about this online, so I'm sure you won't mind me bringing it up, but you invest heavily into coaching and other coaches, which obviously is a massive investment because we don't invest into cheap coaches. Like, that's a huge risk in itself.
Yeah, it really is. But I've noticed that my results get bigger the more courage I have, the more risks that I take. And I realize as well that if I really want crazy results in my business, if I want to be doing consistent 100K months, if I want to have a 7-figure year or multi 7-figure year, I have to be working and in close proximity to the people who are achieving those results already. It's a non-negotiable. So like, again, though, that's been like a habit that I've had to learn over the last few years. But I recognize that investing in yourself and your education is absolutely vital if you want to play big, because you have to surround yourself with the big players. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. Because if you surround yourself just by, people who don't really have ambition, don't have a vision, who aren't massive action takers, it's going to impact you because we are all a result of our environment. So investing in mentors, making multi-millions and multi-seven figures is part of me elevating my environment to kind of trick my brain into thinking, well, if they're doing that and there's nothing really different between them and me, then I can do that too. But I have to put myself into those spaces. And I've recognized that, over the last short few years that I've been in business.
So I think this is then actually a really good question to ask you of what I've been thinking lately, because obviously, I've been going into schools, I've been talking to young people, it's all been about business and how to start business, and I've absolutely loved it. What my argument is to a lot of parents most of the time is that they'll invest thousands of pounds into university. Now, you would have gone to university to obviously become a doctor. And
Yeah.
of course, if you want to become a doctor or any of those type of careers, then you have to go to university. You have to spend a lot of money to be able to get them qualifications in the first place. But why then is coaching, mentoring, investing in business knowledge so looked down on sometimes, or not the first thing that people invest in, because they don't see like how much it's worth? Whereas I'm like, when you start a business, you need to know all those business things. So why aren't people then spending the money on a business mentor, on the training programs, or whatever that is, to learn how to do this? Because you wouldn't think nothing of it if it was university.
Yeah. So I think that's a really powerful question. And I think a lot of people, including me just a few years ago, didn't really know any better, didn't really know any different. And, I think the system as a whole, the educational system as a whole, and the system over here, they want you to think that you have to go to university and that you have to then get a good job and then you have to work for someone. But actually, you don't get rich doing that. You don't get rich working for someone else and fulfilling someone else's dream. You get rich by having your own successful business and being the CEO of that business. But the system doesn't really want us to know about it. So like people like you and me, the system aren't super happy with what we're doing because we're like, no, we're going to do it in our own way. I don't want to have a boss. I want to be my own boss. And the system needs people who aren't like us to keep it going, to keep working in the workplace and to keep the cogs moving in all the things. So it's not sort of public knowledge, and it's not, entrepreneurship and investing isn't taught in the general educational system, which I think is a huge fault. And I love what you're doing about taking entrepreneurship back to the school system, because I think it's so needed. And you know how much I support your work in doing that and how much I love what you do in that space. But it's so needed because investing and learning about money and learning about business just isn't taught in the school system. And so I think it's because that's one of the reasons why people are a bit averse to investing in a mentor or a coach initially. And the second thing is obviously people aren't used to it. So it takes time. I remember when I went to my first free property masterclass, if you like, at the end of it, obviously they pitched us an upsell, which was a 3-day course for £1,000. And I remember calling my husband, who got me to go to that in the first place, to say, oh my goodness, they've just told me about this 3-day course, but it's £1,000. And, £1,000 is a big chunk of money. But at the time, it was a huge amount of money for me that I didn't really have. But I knew that I needed this 3-day course to then learn about property and start getting into property. But it's once you start investing and once you start working with mentors and in masterminds and programs where you start getting results and you start speeding up those results and you start achieving much bigger things, you realize that it's a real necessary part of your self-development, but also your success in business as well. So I hope that answers your question, in a roundabout way. But I think people aren't used to investing, and I definitely wasn't. Just using that example, I definitely wasn't. But it's almost like a muscle that you have to train. You go to the gym, you train a muscle, you see the visual changes as you you keep training and you keep training. I think investing in yourself is the same. You invest, you don't see results usually straight away, but then the more that you do, the more that you implement the work, the bigger the results get, and you start to physically see like the change and the impact that investment and those investing habits have on your results.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's really good coming from you, seeming as, like you say, you're not a natural risk taker, so you've had to learn how to do that. So that's amazing. You're also a mummy of 2 and you live in Ibiza, which is
Yeah.
lots of people's dream. How do you juggle mum life, being a businesswoman, living abroad? How do you do it?
Oh, I don't think sometimes I do it very successfully. I'll put my hands up and be honest. Like real talk, and I'm always transparent. It's not easy, and it's not always easy. Sometimes it can feel easier, but I have a vision, I have a passion, but I'm also really lucky to have a very solid support network. So my husband's a great support to me. He's a great driver and he's a great, rock for me. But my mother-in-law is also incredible and she helps us a lot with the children. And without that kind of support network, I would really struggle to be able to do what I do and travel between London and Ibiza regularly, which is what I do. I'm in London at the moment. I'll come back every 4 to 6 weeks for events or networking and business, or if I'm hosting events and so on. And I'll be honest, it's not easy. I'm in London at the moment. I've been in tears this morning and yesterday because I've been missing my babies so much because they're not with me. It's hard, It's, I think it is hard. And I think people think sometimes, without knowing much about the person behind the brand or the business, they sometimes think, oh, it's okay for her because of X, Y, and Z, or it's okay for her because she's got lots of money, or it's okay for her because she's got a property portfolio, so she makes lots of money, and so she can pay for all of that. But actually, I think people forget that life happens to everyone. No matter how much money you make, there are things and challenges which everyone has to kind of deal with. And so whilst I might not show like all of the challenges that I go through, like my health has been like really not great over the last 2 years, although thankfully structurally it's nothing wrong. I think it's stress related. I think people need to realize that life happens to everyone, no matter how much money you make, whether you're a millionaire, billionaire, multimillionaire, whatever, or whether you're doing 6 figures. I think life always happens to everyone, but it's how you deal with those situations that makes a difference, and how you come through them and how quickly you're able to take decisions as well. So in short, like I'm not sure that I always like juggle it really well or perfectly, but it's kind of like a mishmash of I've got this big vision. I want to achieve huge things. I've massively changed my life. I want to show other people that they can too. It is possible, because I knew nothing about business just a few short years ago. And having that support network around you as best you can. And I appreciate that not everyone has that. So I feel very lucky and very grateful.
I think it's really good the fact that you touch on, everyone is still human at the end of the day. And it relates to a post that I put up, it was last week. And sometimes I always feel that people think that the more successful you are, the more then you don't need help or the support or the cheerleaders and stuff behind you. And I find that really difficult in business. Like even tiny things, like if people are starting fresh in business, they get, let's just say, social media ego boost and all of that. They get all of the likes, the support, the comments, the shares. When someone then's been in business for a long time, aka me, and you put stuff up, them same people then don't support you on socials. And I think it's purely because they just, not anything to be mean, I think it's just the fact that they don't think that you need the support. Or same with like my product range, you'll see other product ranges coming out and they'll be supporting all these product ranges, and it's like, hello, like where are you guys? You've been using us for ages, or whatever that might be. And it's like people just assume that you're okay because you've made it somewhere, but it can get really lonely at the top. But also we are still human, we are still trying to build our businesses and get to the top still ourselves.
I think that's a massive point. I mean, it can get really lonely if you've got this big vision and mission that you want to achieve. And, you know, you're not necessarily working with a big team all the time. Like, I have a really, really tiny team. So a lot of the time it's just me doing all of the things in my online business anyway. And I think people do forget that actually you might have achieved success in lots of things, but actually you're still just human. Like, you have the same emotions, you have the same stresses, the same struggles, the same challenges as everyone else, maybe at a different level. But I always say where there's a new level, there's a new devil. And so there are always challenges happening. And I just think we all have to be mindful that there is still a person behind all the success. There is still a person behind the results, and there are going to be challenges and there are going to be wins. And like, they're still human at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely. So let's move on to like high ticket. You specialize in high ticket. Can you explain to my listeners what is high ticket and how do you even find these clients to spend money?
Okay, so I love this. This is where it gets juicy. So high ticket offers are essentially offers that are priced at a higher price point. So for me in my mentoring business, that's anywhere from around 8K, 10K, 20K, 30K offers, where clients come and work with me at a very close proximity, in a very close proximity container. But I mean, high ticket offers, you know, it can be applied to any business model. So it could be a high ticket product. It basically means a more expensive, more exclusive product, which then means that the kind of buyers you're looking for or the kind of clients that you're looking for to sell those products to are willing to pay for that higher priced product, that higher ticket offer, essentially. And these kind of clients that we attract into high ticket offers, high ticket products, they're quite a different buyer to the clients who buy low and mid ticket offers. And I know this firsthand because I'm your classic high ticket client, because there are certain things that I look for in an expert that then makes me think, right, I've decided that's the person that I'm going to spend my money with. I'm going to invest 20 grand in this person. And basically there are four things. So there are four expert values that I teach my clients that high ticket clients are looking for in order to hire and pay you. So the first is that they're looking for bigger results compared to if they were to do things alone. The second thing is that they're looking for increased speed of getting those results. They want those results faster. They're also looking for convenience. So it's probably going to be a little bit easier for them to achieve the results that they want through working with and investing with you as the expert. But they also want reduced risk, whether that's reducing their risk of wasting money or whether it's reducing their risk of wasting time. And so those are the four key expert values that I teach my clients. They have to demonstrate, because that's what high ticket clients are looking for. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people, when they're
Yeah.
putting high ticket out there, and for those listeners, that can be like we've said, it could be product, it could be a coaching course, it could be a beauty service where you've gone from doing nails to now offering hydrofacial, which is a lot more money, or your aesthetic treatments or whatever that might be. I think a lot of the time around this, there comes lots of money blocks and, well, these people don't have the money to invest, or who would pay that? Did you ever deal with any of those type of money blocks when you started charging a lot for your services?
Absolutely, 100%. So, you know, at one point I was charging 1,500 for 3 months of working with me one to one. I now have clients who pay me 20,000, 30,000 plus to work with me one to one, and all of the prices in between as well, by the way. And yeah, I've absolutely had to really like fight the mindset monkeys of, oh my God, if I increase my price point, no one's going to buy from me. You know, people are going to go elsewhere and buy from other people. I'm going to lose the sale. Like, they're not going to want to invest in me. And actually there is work that we all need to be doing if we want to be elevating the price point on ourselves and our money mindset. So I even remember last year, I'd been absorbing the VAT on my one-to-one offer, which was 20,000 at the time. And I came to make the decision to say, right, I'm not absorbing it anymore because it's a lot of money and I'm doing a lot of, client delivery for this amount. I'm going to add the VAT on top. And that I kind of had the challenge of the mindset monkeys coming up and saying like to me, Tanya, no one's going to pay you an extra 4K to work with you for 6 months for 24K. It's not going to happen. And, it was really scary. But I decided to kind of make that decision. And once I make a decision, I usually commit to it. And literally within 24, 48 hours, I had my next one-to-one client pay me in full for that particular service with the VAT added on top. But I had to really challenge myself. And one thing that I teach my clients with their pricing is, yes, you can elevate your price point, but if you don't fully back your price point, it's going to be felt by your potential clients and it's not going to work. So only elevate your price point if you can back your offer and your price point comfortably, energetically, but also if you have the product that delivers the value, that delivers the results that the client is looking for. So it's not just a case of adding a zero onto your price. It's a case of making sure you've got all of those different parts of the wheel like all together and working nicely.
Don't you just hate that?
I mean, yeah, it's not fun. Like, I wish there was another way, but there we go.
No, it's a bane of my life, and I know it's a bane of a lot of my clients' life as well. Hilarious.
I mean, it is a pain.
So let's talk about property. You've obviously got a large portfolio of properties, and I speak to business owners a lot that would like to go down the property route, but either have zero idea or they do think they need lots of cash up front. So they might be doing really well in their business, but not have the upfront capital to invest straight away. What would your advice be there?
So that's a really great question. So I actually started with around £7,000 that I kind of begged and borrowed to buy our first home. We then sold that home at an up-leveled price point, which meant that we made a little bit of money. And so we started using that to invest and we moved it into a rental home instead of buying our next home. But there are other clever ways of getting into property and making money from property without having to own it. So one of those ways is rent to rent, or it's called rent to SA, rent to serviced accommodation, where you can rent a property from a landlord with their permission, with the right contract in place. You can then rent that property out on, for example, Airbnb in the short-term rental holiday let market at an increased price point. So you make a margin every month on that property, which you don't own, which is a really exciting business model because you don't need the upfront capital to put down a deposit to buy a house. You don't need to wait the 12 weeks plus for the conveyancing to go through solicitors. You can find a rental property. And I'm not saying it's always easy to find those properties, by the way, but you can find a rental property where a landlord agrees, and then you can go and Airbnb and holiday let that property out. So that's a great model. And you probably need between 5 to 10K realistically to start, depending on the property size, depending on the area, in that kind of model. I mean, sometimes you can even, and I've done this and clients have done this as well, you can raise finance from people that people in your network, and utilize their money to invest in property, whether it's through rent to rent or whether it's through buying your own property as well. So there are a few different things that you can do creatively, which mean that you don't need that big chunk of capital initially to go and buy a property, to be the only way to get into property, basically.
I think, a lot of people do worry about that. Do you think there's still money then to be made when it comes to renting out property and then re-renting it, or does it come on volume of properties that you have when you do it that way?
So that's a really good question. So it is definitely both. So we make great margins. We make great cash flow from our rent to rent properties, and we've got we've got a number of those. But you can also obviously you can make money on each property. And so combined, that could be a really nice cash flow, profit, income for you each month, each year. The other way that we also do it is we also manage holiday let properties on behalf of landlords as well, which is a zero, financial responsibility, zero risk income stream for us as well, because we don't actively have to spend any money on those properties. We just manage on behalf of the owner for a commission. And that's a great income stream as well without having to own property. But of course, I always say that there is a caveat. If you want to do that, you have to know what you're doing, first of all, to be able to then go and manage properties on behalf of the owners themselves. So we do a few of those different strategies.
And do you still teach people to do this, or are you mainly focused on high ticket now?
So I definitely do still teach people to do this. And I've got lots of people that always ask me for support and help with Airbnb and short-term rental property. But I would say my key focus right now is really, elevating and skyrocketing the high ticket sales, high ticket client side of things in my online business, because it's something that I'm really hugely passionate about. And I really want more people to know about it, because you can attract all of the clients paying you, low ticket, 50 quid, £100, £200, and you can sell a lot of those to then go and achieve the money that you want to make each month. Or you can attract higher paying clients, sell less offers, work less, but still achieve the money that you want, or make even more by working less. So that's why I'm really excited about the high ticket side of things. But I do actively mentor in both areas.
I like that you mentioned that, because again, just because I was in that school recently, one of the questions to me was so if I do nails at a certain price, then will I get more clients than the person that's more expensive than me? And this is something that comes up like all the time for me in my space. So then I taught them no, because you might get more clients, but you're having to work so much harder for then that person that's charging more can have less clients, might seem less busy, but who just wants to be a busy fool anyway, and makes more money than you.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's all about the service that you deliver and the end result. Like if we're talking about nails, I just got my nails done today. So it's a great example. I think if you're talking about something like nails, then think about the experience that you could deliver. So I've always had this fantasy of having like a nail salon and a beauty salon, but I would really want to take it up a notch, because my brain is always thinking high ticket. It's like, how can I do this and 10x the money that I make, essentially? So I would have a salon, but to elevate the client experience, I would have a DJ in the salon. I would have bubbles and like Prosecco on tap for the clients in the salon and that kind of thing. Because I'm always thinking, well, how can I elevate the experience? How can I make it completely different to everyone else? And how can I make it more personalized as well and elevated to luxury or to more exclusive? Because you're always going to be able to charge more if you can think outside the box and do things differently. But if you give the client an elevated experience as well, then they're always going to be willing to pay more money for the service.
Yeah, it's definitely what people miss. I think they just look at the service and that's it, when it's so much more than the service. It is the whole experience.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
So what's next for you in business and life?
So, I mean, as you know, there are a lot of moving parts in my life at the moment. Like, with some things, goodness knows what's going to be next. But I have a book to write, which was supposed to be written last year, which will be getting done this year. It's like it has to be done. I would love to launch a podcast as well alongside that later this year. So I'll probably be asking you and our good friend Fiona for some tips. And I've got some really big plans for the high ticket side of things. So yeah, watch this space, but I'm really excited.
Very exciting. And where is best for people to connect with you?
I think the best place is either my Instagram, so Freedom with Tania with an I, or my website, taniakingmohammad.com. Those are probably the best, but you can also find me on Facebook as well. with the same name.
Perfect. We will put the links in the show notes. Guys, if you love this episode, then please make sure that you share it across your platforms and tag us both so we can reach more people. And thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure and I adore everything that you do.
Thank you so much for having me. And likewise, you know I'm your biggest fan.
I want to introduce you to a brand that I'm working with called Dizzo. They offer dissolvable supplement strips, which means the vitamins are absorbed 4 times more than tablets and capsules. So these are perfect if you want quicker results or maybe you can't take tablets. You guys know that I only work with brands I love. So I am personally using their B12 strips and their energy strips. As a business owner, I get tired. So I kind of need that boost every day. And these are definitely helping with my energy levels. I'm also taking their multivitamin strips, which taste lovely. Go and check out their website in the show notes. Go and order yours and let me know what you think.